Is this working?
Yes, do a mic check.
This
Okay,
is a mic
go.
check. Yes. This is,
Is she good?
what's going on?
Keep talking.
Hi, this is a mic check. I plugged it back in. I don't know.
It's fine.
What? 3, 2.
You guys are fine. Chill out.
Okay, tell.
Oh, I thought it was actually one. Okay. Sorry, my bad.
This is lob 6.
That's lot 6.
This is lob 6.
Take-
This is a mic check. This is a mic check. Am I good to go? Is this on? Are we recording? I'm not hearing whoever's talking.
We're saving trees to death.
You're what?
I'm not hearing the IFB.
Yeah, your IFB, we need a new IFB. We need a new IFB for now.
It's I did not hear the control room.
Are you plugged in?
I'm plugged in. Yes. I only have half.
Coming up on Chapman News, Hurricane Michael is now a tropical storm but continues to pack a punch as it heads eastward towards the Atlantic, destroying millions of homes. We'll take you there.
Plus, hundreds rally on campus for women's rights, opposing newly confirmed Justice Brett Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court.
And as the popularity of vaping rises, health officials worry big businesses are targeting a younger demographic. That and more on today's edition of Chapman News.
Good afternoon, you're watching Chapman News. I'm Mallory Sullivan.
And I'm Kim Becker. There's a lot to cover, so let's get started.
Hurricane Michael continues to leave death and destruction in its wake. The death toll from the storm continues to rise with at least 11 dead so far as search crews continue to look for survivors. Officials say it is the most powerful storm to hit the Florida Panhandle in history. We're joined by weather producer Alexis Rodriguez. Alexis, where is that storm headed next?
Thanks, guys. So you might be wondering, where is Hurricane Michael? Michael is out to sea, but some effects are still being felt. According to the National Hurricane Center, it is now considered a post-tropical storm cyclone moving across the Atlantic as of early this morning. At 5 a.m. this morning, Michael's core was 85 degrees northeast of Norfolk, Virginia, and 275 miles southwest of Nantucket, Massachusetts. It was traveling northeast at speeds of 29 miles per hour with sustained winds of up to 65 miles per hour. Hurricane Michael will continue to move away from the United States, as you can see behind me, today and move across the open Atlantic Ocean tonight through Sunday. Just for your viewer perspective, this is what Hurricane Michael would have looked like if it had touched ground in California, as you can see, consuming most of the state. Now, as a result of the powerful wind and rain, over 1.3 million residents were left without power from Florida to Virginia. And last night, we're learning more about the damage that has left behind. Amy Delgado reports with footage courtesy of our partner CNN. Take a look.
On Thursday, emergency responders in Florida swept through regions struck by Hurricane Michael, looking for survivors. Wellness checks like this one. Volunteer Jason Gunderson helping an 85-year-old Anna Lambert who had been stuck in her home. The governor toured the devastation. He stopped in Panama City, where a hospital had to be evacuated. And he came here, to Jenks Middle School. People are getting a first look at the devastation.
Oh, our new house.
Beginning the hard road to recovery.
It's going to be a lot of work, a lot of expense, but we're okay.
Those who hunkered down say they made a hard choice.
Didn't want to leave what we had, all right? And basically I had no choice, all right? Because everything I have is right there.
The path of Hurricane Michael spanned several states, leaving over 1 million people without power and flooding as far as Virginia. But ground zero was Mexico Beach, where the storm seems to have downed the entire city.
The ocean rose somewhere between 12 and 14 feet with wave action on top, just shoving buildings out of the way.
And with little cell service,
Brandy, it's Dad.
people are slowly getting back in touch with their loved ones. Amy Delgado, Chapman News.
Hurricane Michael is Florida's worst-case scenario, becoming the third most intense hurricane to make landfall in the United States, behind Hurricane Camille in 1969 and 1935's Labor Day hurricane.
Ironically, the hurricane hit as we were reading a new report from the United Nations, which predicts dire consequences from climate change and warns that we may not have enough time to stop them. Among the conclusions, more severe weather, droughts, fires, and yes, hurricanes. These changes, says the report, are global in scope and unprecedented in scale. The summary was vetted and endorsed by all 195 governments that were parties to the Paris Agreement this past Saturday. The 2015 Paris Agreement set a global goal of limiting warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius. But for that to happen, it needs rapid and far-reaching transitions. The Earth has already warmed roughly 1 degree since 2015 and is on track for 3 degrees of warming. Keeping the global temperature rise to within 1.5 to 2 degrees would require carbon dioxide emissions to be cut drastically. By 2050, the world would have to achieve net zero emissions, which means that as much carbon would have to be absorbed as is emitted.
And this report is saying, well, you know, if we want to limit this, if we want it to not get out of control, we need to act very, very quickly in order to do that. And the time for doing so is running out.
Joining us now is Dr. David Shaffey, an environmental politics and public policy professor here at Chapman. Thank you so much for joining us.
Sure.
So I gotta ask, what was your reaction when you read the report?
Well, the report was extremely sobering. Every time the IPCC releases a new report, there is very serious news that has to be taken seriously. We saw this 4 years ago with the 5th IPCC report that cautioned that we had to keep warming within 2 degrees above pre-industrial times, and that was an impetus for world leaders to come together and forge the Paris Climate Agreement. And now we have the 6th IPCC report, which says that 2 degrees might not be enough, and we're running out of time.
So what does this have to do with Hurricane Michael, in your opinion? Does this relate at all?
Well, you can't connect any specific weather event to climate change in general. However, we know that as a result of global warming, we have an increase in the frequency and severity of these weather events. Rising sea levels, higher surface temperatures of the oceans, and when warmer air means more moisture is going to be absorbed, and it means that the destructive force of a hurricane is going to be more powerful. In fact, the IPCC report points out that just a 1/2 degree increase in surface temperature of the ocean adds about 15% to the destructive power of a hurricane.
Wow. And just for some of our viewers who may not know details about the report, what does it mention about the time limit that we have now to kind of get back on track?
Yeah, that's the sobering part. Is the IPCC report suggests we only have about a decade to make the changes that we need to, and some of these are going to be revolutionary changes that go beyond the commitments we've made for the Paris Agreement already.
And do you think other severe weather like droughts, the wildfires, especially in California, do you think that they are direct reactions from this or could potentially be?
Well, we're seeing wildfires in the Arctic. We're seeing greater increases in droughts and climate-related refugees, and these problems are not going away. And every time they seem to get our policymakers' attention, and we as citizens really need to make sure that they follow through with their commitments.
Right. And Trump wants to pull out of the Paris Agreement. Do you think that states can take lead in his absence to help with climate change, and how do you think that they could go about that?
Yeah, I mean, this is an important thing to remember. The United States is committed to reducing and mitigating and fighting the effects of climate change. President Bush signed a treaty in 1992, and the Senate ratified it. So we're legally obligated to do something about climate change. And whether this current administration is taking it seriously or not, it's still a problem, and we see states and cities joining the rest of the world and making the transitions we need to. California just passed a law that requires net zero carbon emissions by 2045, SB 100.
So for those watching who may want to take action today, they want to take action right now, what do you recommend?
Well, there are always things that people say you can do: plant a tree, drive an electric car, and those things are good and symbolic. Recycle. But what we really need to do is pressure our policymakers to enact policy solutions that go beyond just decarbonizing the electric grid. We need investments in mass transportation. We need changes in incentives. I mean, the economist who thought of the idea of a carbon tax, he won the Nobel Prize this week.
Wow.
And this is a solution that economists have looked at and said this would radically realign our incentives and reduce carbon emissions.
Awesome. Wow. Well, Professor David Shaffey, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And now we are going to cover the Kavanaugh walkout that happened this week here on campus.
This last week, all heads were turned towards the highest court in the land as Congress and the people alike exhausted all possible arguments over the confirmation of Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh.
Deny the allegation against me by Dr. Ford.
On Saturday, Kavanaugh was confirmed to the Supreme Court in a 50-48 vote, despite allegations of sexual misconduct, highlighted most significantly by the testimony of Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, who stated with confidence that Kavanaugh assaulted her during high school in the summer of 1982.
I believed he was going to rape me.
In response, people on both the left and the right have taken to social media to express outrage, either at Kavanaugh's ultimate confirmation by Republicans or at Kavanaugh's treatment by Democrats. The passion and anger on both sides may be hinting at a possible increase in political engagement, something Chapman University has been struggling to improve.
In the last round of midterm elections, only 14% of Chapman students voted. But today, those students have taken to protesting. I'm standing here in the heart of Chapman University's campus where a peaceful protest has broken out in support of Dr. Christine Blasey Ford and other survivors of sexual assault. Hashtag Believe Women and hashtag Believe Survivors is the theme of today. But the real question is whether or not these students will show up at the polls.
Yes, I actually registered today at the booth that was over there because I wasn't sure if I was already registered, but I confirmed that I did. And I've been reading all the props and the statements for all the candidates.
Every freshman that I've spoken to so far is almost excited about voting and having that opportunity. Most people I know, they haven't been able to vote before. So this is a really big deal, and everyone that I've spoken to is ready to have their voices heard.
No, I wouldn't expect to see a greater turnout. Even though there's, a walkout going on, it just doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of, I don't know, I don't see it translating, but we'll see.
With just the amount of tension that's been surrounding this case, I'm very sure that a lot of people definitely feel not just more empowered, but they definitely feel angrier to speak up, and it's definitely catalyzed a lot of people to do so, and so I'm really hoping that a lot of people show up at the poll.
Has what's been going on with the Kavanaugh trials and your attitude toward it kind of inspired you more politically or inspired you more to vote?
I suppose, yeah, because it's kind of showed me that the Democrats just really have thrown presumption of innocence to the wayside. I recognize there's a difference between like a criminal court and a court of public opinion, but I think there's important principles that carry over.
According to a poll by CNN, 2018 will have the largest gender gap on record for a midterm election since 1958. A key difference is the percentage of women voting for Democrats instead of Republicans. For female voters, Democrats are leading on the congressional ballot 58 to 33%, a 25-point margin, whereas Republicans are in the lead among men, 50% to 42% at an 8-point margin. In the month of October alone, voter registration has swelled at a stunning rate compared to previous midterm elections, and some experts accredit this to the involvement of celebrities in political discussions. After Taylor Swift took to Instagram to endorse Democrats in her home state of Tennessee, 169,000 new voters registered within 3 days of her post. Left or right, young or old, Americans and Chapman students seem to be paying attention. Election Day on November 6th will prove if the people really are ready to turn their opinions into action. Dee Droege and Sam Thomas, Chapman News.
Like the Kavanaugh protest, students are marching on campuses across the country throughout this year. The March for Our Lives movement is an ongoing college tour around the nation before the midterms. They'll be in Orange County this November. A lot of that political action is happening here in Orange County, where the outcome of 4 congressional districts could determine who controls the House. Each week, Dee Droege will profile one of the key races. Today, she starts with the election that's most likely to be a Democratic upset.
District 45 is home to Orange, Tustin, and Irvine, where Liberal Democrat Katie Porter is taking on Republican incumbent Mimi Walters. Mimi Walters has represented the district since 2015 and is considered one of the president's closest allies. Walters spent the early part of her career as an investment banker before joining Congress, where she has advocated for conservative tax reform, the repeal of universal health care, and the protection of Second Amendment gun rights. Katie Porter is a UC Irvine law professor who has spent much of her career as a consumer protection attorney. As a law student at Harvard, far-left Senator Elizabeth Warren was her professor and mentor and has been the backbone of her campaign here in Orange County. Porter grew up in Iowa, where she has developed an interest in banking corruption, and she later became one of the early researchers into the banking fraud that caused much of 2007's housing crisis. And as she runs for this seat in Orange County, she's focusing on healthcare reforms, equal economic opportunity, and supports all investigations into accusations against President Trump. Porter's run against Walters is a gamble in this district where classic conservatism is the norm, but for now, Porter is narrowly in the lead. The last day to register to vote in California is October 22nd. Election Day on November 6th will reveal if Orange County really is ready to change up its politics.
Coming up after the break, the long-awaited Keck Center for the Sciences opens its door on campus. We'll take a look.
And is the film industry going digital? We'll find out after the break, but for now, Alexis is here with the weather.
Did you see a UFO jet across the sky last weekend? I'll have more info on that, this week's forecast, and more coming up after the break.
Today is the beginning of a bright new future for this country.
Won't live a life on my knees.
The voters are coming.
wake of the deadliest transportation accident in nearly a decade, friends and family are coming forward to be the voice of the loved ones that they lost. Last Saturday, 20 people died in a limousine accident just outside of Albany, New York. For reasons that are still unknown, the limo ran through a stop sign and crashed into a parked car. 17 passengers, 2 pedestrians, and the driver were all killed. Chapman News reporter Jackie Gold spoke over the phone with Michael Sheldon, a family friend of one of the 20 people who died in the crash.
So we're all sort of interconnected here, you know, and it's very, very sad. You know, they're great people. They have 2 so very young children, but great family.
Wakes and services for victims began yesterday. As for the limousine company, the police have since charged Naaman Hussein, the service operator for the company that was charged with criminally negligent homicide. On Wednesday morning, he pled not guilty and posted his $150,000 bail. For now, let's go to Alexis for weather.
Good morning, everyone. We are looking at some incredible drone footage of the yellow, orange, and red leaves in Huntsville, Utah, where fall is finally in full swing. Have we hit sweater weather here in Orange, California, you might ask? It looks like we might have to wait for another week or so for a drop in temperatures. Our current temperature in Orange is a nice sunny 71 degrees, a beautiful Friday morning. Now moving on to our Orange County forecast, you can see here that our Los Angeles, there we go. Westminster is a nice 80 degrees. Orange, 81 will be our high for the day. Newport, we're looking at a 78-degree temperature. Irvine, as we move a little more inland, 79 degrees. Moving down the coast, 75 in Laguna Beach and 72 in San Clemente. Again, moving inland, 80 degrees in Mission Viejo. Now as we move into our SoCal forecast, Santa Barbara is a nice comfortable 74 degrees. 76 degrees in Avalon. There'll be some rain out there on the island this weekend. 80 degrees in Los Angeles, 82 in Anaheim. Oceanside will be 75 and San Diego will be 75 as well. Inland in the desert, we'll be looking at 86 degrees in Palm Springs, and as we move into the mountains, a 59-degree temperature in Big Bear Lake. Now for our 5-day forecast here in Orange. On Friday, like I said, today it will be a nice 81-degree high, mostly sunny, a couple clouds here and there, a low of 63 degrees. On Saturday, we'll be seeing some scattered thunderstorms with a high of 70 degrees, so that'll be a little chillier. 60 degrees will be our low. You might want to bring out your coats for that day. Sunday, partly cloudy, 76 will be our high and a 59-degree low. Monday, it'll be sunnier again, 82 degrees, nice sunny day, 56 low. Tuesday, it'll be sunny again, 84 degrees, 57 degrees will be our low. So as you can see, the temperatures will be getting a little warmer again. Now, no, it was not aliens, and no, it was not the filming of Star Wars Episode 10. That explosion of light in the sky on Sunday night was actually Elon Musk's SpaceX launch of the Falcon 9 rocket from Vandenberg Air Force Base. It carried an Argentinian satellite and marked the first time the Falcon 9 booster returns to land at Vandenberg. This is the second time the rocket has been launched since June and might just be the next step in our journey to Mars. Back to you guys at the desk.
Mars? I want to go to Mars.
You do?
Yeah.
Is there oxygen on Mars?
Well, let's hope so. Speaking of oxygen, vaping continues to be a rising phenomenon among college students, and now it's spreading to a new demographic, high school students. The FDA has decided to take action. Reporter Alexis Rodriguez has the story.
Vaping is well known and widely used on campuses all over the country, including Chapman.
So I don't see any real consequences to juuling except for my bank account.
Honestly, it's because I'm bored.
I've done a lot of research on the consequences of juuling.
The feeling feels kind of nice, a little lightheaded, but now it's just more so because I'm addicted.
The FDA has given e-cigarette brand giants until November 7th to solve what Commissioner Dr. Scott Gottlieb is calling an epidemic.
We've been talking about this for a whole year. There was no surprise here that we were concerned about what we saw as a rising youth use of these products. Now we have definitive data to demonstrate it.
Today, over half those days have gone by, and time is almost up. Controlling 72% of the industry, Juul, a leading brand of e-cigarettes, known for its pocketable size and USB drive shape, sold over 16.2 million devices in the last year alone. Using colorful packaging and flavored pods like mango, mint, and even cucumber, vape brands such as Juul are being accused of gearing their products toward minors.
Research looking at high school seniors' vaping behaviors shows that
Up to 30% of high school seniors don't even know that there's nicotine within Juuls.
We see that there has been a huge uptick in use, especially after the emergence of Juul, in use among youth. And so even if they're not deliberately targeting youth, there needs to be something done to curb use.
In April 2018, the FDA seized 50,000 pages of internal documents on Juul's research and marketing data. Less than 2 weeks ago, Juul Labs was raided again, this time by surprise, for another 1,000 documents. The FDA has yet to make a statement about what these documents revealed.
They're getting a tremendous amount of free publicity that they actually can't control with putting stickers and warning labels on. So I don't think much of anything is going to happen.
While vaping is a safer alternative to smoking, it is still not considered safe according to officials. This public health concern has the FDA rolling out some more regulations this November. Reporting from Chapman University, Alexis Rodriguez, Chapman News.
Juul responded to the controversy, saying they want to be a part of the solution in preventing underage youth and are willing to work with regulators to restrict access to minors. It's no secret that our eyes are constantly glued to our phones, but the new iPhones have added benefit. These new phones have OLED displays instead of the typical LED. Studies found these new screens reduce the amount of time your retinas become inflamed from screen exposure. This is a 20% increase from the old display. The new iPhone is also not as disruptive to sleep patterns, with less blue light emitted than the old screen. Now that is a whole new reason to get the next upgrade. With Halloween only a few weeks away, kids are gearing up for the big night. But how old is too old to trick-or-treat? In Chesapeake, Virginia, the legal cutoff age is 13 years old. Anyone older could be fined and even sent to jail for up to 6 months. Several North Carolina cities have similar restrictions in place for 12 and 13-year-olds, along with a 9 p.m. curfew enforced for all. Luckily for teenagers in Orange, no trick-or-treating laws have been put in place in their neighborhoods.
Following years of declining sales, Sears is preparing to file for bankruptcy protection in the coming days. Sears Holdings met with its lenders Wednesday night to discuss a solution, but did not reach any agreement. The retailer is facing a $134 million debt that must be paid by this Monday. But the bankruptcy might signal a new beginning for the company, like it has for Toys R Us. The toy company signaled that it could be making a comeback on Twitter. A message from their mascot, Jeffrey the Giraffe, says he has been traveling for the past few months, but is now ready to make new memories with children of all ages. News of the potential arrival comes after a press release from the company holding Toys R Us's intellectual property, saying that it would take over the company's assets.
From writing on the walls to the best seat at Wilson Field, the Keck Center for Science and Engineering is not just another building on campus. It is the new home of the Schmidt College and Science of Technology, and Nicole Zedek and I attended the grand opening just last night. Take a look.
The grand opening of Chapman's newest building, the Keck Center for Science and Engineering, started last night at 5 p.m. with many key speeches and a ribbon-cutting ceremony. The Keck Center is a brand new, state-of-the-art facility that opened this fall to science students and will soon be the home of the new engineering school. With 25 research labs, 20 modern teaching labs, and 50 faculty offices, the building offers ample space for students and staff to conduct research, learn computational and data sciences, and collaborate on new innovations.
From its inception, it has been designed as a facility where our students and faculty can engage deeply in the sciences.
Whiteboards line the labs, allowing students to jot down their ideas and work out problems right there on the walls.
The Keck Center encourages convergence and collaboration. The walls are writable and encourage exchange of ideas and the presenting and solving of problems.
Students will probably say that one of the best features of the Keck Center is the outdoor amphitheater facing Wilson Field. Whether you need a spot to do homework or simply want to check out what Chapman sports teams are up to, the amphitheater is available 24/7. The Keck Center opening ceremony was open to the entire Chapman community and was complete with champagne, test tube snacks, and dry ice cream cones.
The Keck Center for Science and Engineering also played a role in another exciting addition to the Chapman campus. After a 3-year application and review process, the Phi Beta Kappa Honor Society, which favors laboratory sciences, has approved Chapman's very own chapter. Chapman will be joining Yale, Harvard, Stanford, and others in what is considered the country's oldest and most prestigious honor society, with less than 10% of universities being admitted. Chapman's Phi Beta Kappa membership will be funded by a $3 million endowment raised by Chapman's Board of Trustees.
Coming up on the Best Campus Sports Show, a new edition of Athlete of the Week where things get a little slippery. Stay tuned.
This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Remember that to love America is to love all Americans, because love has no labels.
Bye-bye.
Hi. Hoping for a crisp breeze to help keep you alert. Oh, he took a sip of water too. That'll probably help.
You were probably going to turn down the radio too, so you could focus, right?
Probably okay isn't okay.
Right.
If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
I think the water line is what really drove it home. I blew on him.
Hey everyone, I'm Brad Benson and welcome to another edition of the Best Campus Sports Show. Major League Baseball is really heating up this week with both the ALCS and NLCS starting this weekend. Southern California's own Los Angeles Dodgers advanced to their third straight National League Championship Series. They advanced after winning their series against the Atlanta Braves on Monday. Last year, they beat the Cubs in 5 to advance to the World Series, only to lose to the explosive Houston Astros. This year, they will square off against a good Milwaukee Brewers team and their very passionate fan base. You can watch Game 1 of the series tonight at 5:09 p.m. on FS1. This week's Athlete of the Week is football player Nico Ragas. Last week, he became only the second player in the history of Chapman football to have a 100-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. I met up with him for this week's edition of Athlete of the Week. I'm here with this week's Athlete of the Week, Nico Ragas. He's a wide receiver on the football team, and today we're going to put his catching skills to the test. You ready, Nico?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go.
Hey, it's me and Brad here. We're going to do some competition. We're going to get jar of Vaseline, rub it all over our hands, and best of 5 wins, 5 attempts, and then see who can really catch under pressure.
Last week you had a 100-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. What's going through your mind on a long return like that?
It was a late game, so we just needed a playmaking opportunity, and everyone did their job. It was great blocking, and just as a returner, it was my job to just get going and try and go as far as I can, and actually it was all the way, and that's good.
Last year, you guys went undefeated in SCIAC play and went to the playoffs. What do you guys need to do to finish the second half of the season strong to get back in that position?
I mean, we just have to take one game at a time, one quarter at a time, just win every week, and we're kind of playing ourselves at this point. We're going to need some help and teams to beat Redlands, but if we do our job and win, hopefully good things happen at the end.
This week's your homecoming game, and it's obviously one of the bigger games of the year. How does this game differ from any other game?
Well, I mean, coming off of a loss, it's huge. I mean, having fans here, we haven't played at home in a month, so, I mean, it's going to be great to finally be back on this field, and, I mean, just another SCIAC opponent we have to face, and just have to get back on a winning streak.
Well, it was a close match. We took it to overtime, but in the end, Nico came away with the victory, and always got to give it to the athletes here on Athlete of the Week. Now, I don't know if you saw it or not, but Nico's first catch looked a little questionable to me. I think we need to take another look at that one. Okay, you can see here, I dropped back to throw it. Beautiful throw by me, and looks like he might not have caught it. Ball might have hit the ground. Take a closer look at that. Tip of the ball definitely touched the ground right there. Nico looked like he played it off like he caught it, but I'm not sure about that one. He told me he caught it, so we decided to count it, and Nico got the credit for the win, but I don't know. The NFL always has some sort of was that a catch controversy, and now we have it here on Athlete of the Week. Well, you can see Nico and the rest of the football team back at Wilson Field tomorrow night, or you can watch the game at home and hear me doing play-by-play on the Chapman Sports Broadcast Network. Sticking with football, this week's highlight of the week is a bit of NFL history. On Monday night, New Orleans Saints quarterback Drew Brees became the NFL's all-time leader in completions and passing yards, and he did it in spectacular fashion. Take a look.
So the family's on the field in anticipation of celebration. Will we get it here before halftime?
How about those 4 kiddos, though, being able to get down on that field, what they're going to experience, incredible.
Brees. Wide open, and Smith, what a way to do it!
Brees broke Peyton Manning's record that was set back in 2013. But in today's passing league, and the fact that Tom Brady is probably going to play until like he's a senior citizen or something, I don't think Brees' record will stand for too long. Well, that's all I have for you today on the Best Campus Sports Show. I'm Brad Benson. Be sure to tune in next week, same time, same place, and have a great weekend, everybody. Now let's toss it over to Shannon in the Entertainment Center.
Thanks, Brad. Twitter Fuse and Broadway News. Find out which celebs are beefing on Twitter and which 90s movie will be hitting the Broadway stage. More on entertainment after the break.
Bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your closet. Still no jobs? Just more stuff? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
Hello, friends. I'm Shannon Dominxo here with the very latest in all things pop culture. Starting off in entertainment, it's not often that Donald Trump is upstaged at a media event, but today he was, by no less than Kanye West, who dropped by to have lunch with the president. West proceeded to treat the president, along with Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner and a horde of press, to a 10-minute rant, which left everyone, including Trump, speechless. West talked politics, North Korea, showed pictures of a hydrogen plane to replace Air Force One, and of course, his own mental health. Here's part of what he said.
And also, I'm married to a family that, not a lot of male energy going on. It's beautiful, though.
Some wondered, why does the president have time for Kanye West? Shouldn't he, be dealing with a major hurricane or something? I don't know. Moving on, this year's American Music Awards had big surprises and big moments. Here are just a few highlights. Mariah Carey returned to the AMAs for the first time since 2008. She performed her song With You, the first single from her upcoming album. A shock to most viewers happened when Taylor Swift, won the award for Tour of the Year over Beyonce and Jay-Z. We're just glad Kanye West wasn't there to interrupt Taylor's speech again, right? T-Swift took home 4 awards this past Tuesday: Tour of the Year, Favorite Album, Favorite Pop Rock Female Artist, and Artist of the Year. She became the most decorated female American Music Awards winner with 23 AMAs, knocking out Whitney Houston, who previously held that same title. The night was also filled with a lot of talk about midterm election voting. Host Tracy Ellis Ross reappeared on stage in a t-shirt urging audience members to vote. Billy Eichner went off script to remind viewers to vote before announcing the winner of Adult Contemporary Artist.
Country, please, on November 6th, tonight is the final night to register in 20 states in this country. Please grab your friends. Tell them to vote.
And Taylor Swift again encouraged young people to vote during her Artist of the Year acceptance speech.
Is the midterm elections on November 6th. Get out and vote. I love you guys.
The second time voicing her stance and view on politics after vowing to vote Democrats in the Tennessee elections earlier that week. If you're totally bugging about that, a lot of people have been bugging, but in a good way, about the announcement of a new Broadway musical. Clueless, the teen rom-com released in 1995, will be coming alive on stage in the off-Broadway run of Clueless the Musical. Dove Cameron will be hitting the New York stage as Cher Horowitz and confirmed the news on Instagram, saying that life is about to get very yellow and very plaid. The movie starred Alicia Silverstone and was loosely based on Jane Austen's novel Emma, about Cher, a high schooler living in Beverly Hills, and her chance to give back by taking a new girl in school, Ty, under her wing to make her cool. The musical will be written by the movie's original screenwriter and will feature original music. Cameron has lots of background and experience, like playing Amber Von Tussle in Hairspray Live in 2016. The show previews on November 20th in advance of an official opening night on December 11th. A limited off-Broadway engagement is scheduled through January 12th. And if you think I'm not excited, as if. We all love the ease of watching television from our own homes, and services like Netflix and Hulu make it all too easy. But as these digital media giants take control, they're fueling job growth. Nicole Zedek has the story.
It may seem like a frightening time for Hollywood in the traditional sense of blockbuster hits. Digital media giants are taking over the film industry and gaining more views than many feature films because of their easy accessibility from the comfort of your own home. This has many people worried that media jobs are leaving Hollywood, but statistics say otherwise. A recent study from Beacon Economics actually shows job growth in the film and digital media industry. In fact, Los Angeles' film industry grew 23% from 2011 to 2016, suggesting jobs are not leaving LA.
There was this overturning or undermining of the misconception that the rise of digital media is sort of a tolling of the bell for film, when really it's been a very significant input to its growth.
It's not only major streaming services like Netflix and Amazon Prime that are providing new jobs in the industry. YouTube, Snapchat, and Facebook are all major players in digital media too. Facebook is the #1 social media site for video ads, and they are expected to bring in $6.8 billion in video ad revenue this year. The social media site is investing that money into expanding its video offerings, with several scripted shows including Sorry for Your Loss and Strangers, which means new job opportunities. As the emergence of digital media continues to fuel job growth in LA, the Dodge College of Film and Media Arts has decided to keep the curriculum relatively unchanged, because at its core, they say media is all the same.
Really, if you can tell a story visually, A, if you can tell a story, B, if you can tell it visually, you can tell it for just about any kind of format, I think.
Regardless of how new content is being told or distributed, LA County is doing their best to offer new job opportunities and keep a stronghold on the entertainment scene. As the LA film industry continues to diversify and expand their means of digital distribution, Los Angeles will likely continue to be the major hub for the film industry. Reporting from Orange County, I'm Nicole Zedek for Chapman News.
Now be sure to follow our new series on Instagram TV, This Just In. Our second episode is up now on Instagram at Chapman News. Thanks for tuning in for another show and another entertainment update. I'm Shannon Demingsil, and back to you ladies at the desk.
KABC7 was in the neighborhood early Wednesday morning, featuring morning anchor Mark Cota Robles' hometown of Orange. The Chapman alum paid homage to his Orange County roots, remembering his race car driving days, moment on the high school prom court, and even his time spent as a reporter with Chapman News. His news team even got a chance to join him on the air. Take a look.
How about the next generation broadcast journalism students from Chapman University?
Hi, I'm Haley Haskell with Chapman News, and we're live in the neighborhood in the Orange Circle. Stay tuned, there's much more coming up next. Hey!
You looked great for 4 a.m. You looked so fresh.
4 a.m. did not look great for me.
But you fooled me.
I know. Okay, well, log on to our website, chapmannews.tv, to see all of our episodes, Chapman Newsies bios, and top headlines.
And make sure you also follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Chapman News, Twitter and Instagram at Chapman News, and YouTube at youtube.com/Chapman News.
Thanks for tuning into our show. I'm Mallory Sullivan.
And I'm Kim Becker. Have a great weekend.